Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we are taking on Aliens Among Us with Men in Black, a double feature. But before we dive in, let's get into some
housekeeping.
If you love the podcast and you want to support us, here's a few ways that you can.
You can become one of our Patreon besties and gain access to exclusive content, stickers, Ask Me Anythings, polls, bonus videos, live Spotify playlists, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/nomorelatefees.
And if money is a little tight, because this fucking recession is coming and inflation is a bitch, no worries. Just hit us up on a review site like Apple Podchasers, Good Pods, or your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Hopefully it's a good one. Don't come on there if you're going to leave a negative review. We don't want that.
Positive vibes only. And we've got merch. Head on over to nomorelatefees.redbubble.com. Peruse our offerings. We have apparel. We have bags. We have houseware. Anything we could throw our logo on. So head on over and check us out.
Well, let's dive into the movie. The Men in Black series is an American science fiction action comedy film series loosely based on the Men in Black comic book series created by Lowell, Cunningham, and Sandy Carruthers. God, I'm sorry, Sandy, if I did not say your last name right.
I think it's Carruthers.
And Sandy Carruthers. The film follows agents K and J, who are members of a secret organization called the Men in Black. They supervise extraterrestrial life forms who live on Earth and hide their existence from ordinary humans. The movie Men in Black from 1997 stars Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Linda Fiorentino, Vincent D'Onofrio, Tony Shalhoub, and Rip Torn. And Men in Black 2 stars Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Lara, Flynn, Boyle, Johnny Knoxville, Rosario, Dawson, Tony Shalhoub, and Rip Torn. The screenplay by Ed Solomon for Men in Black, and then Robert Gordon and Barry Fanaro for Men in Black 2. Directed by Barry Sonnenfeld for both movies, and you can watch both movies on Hulu. But before we start, let's get into our ratings.
So you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best would play and repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Space trash. Straight up trash.
Living in the dumpster with Edgar's relatives. Trash.
What is your Y2K rating, Jackie? Of Men in Black 1. Let's start there.
Would buy it. 100%.
For me?
For you?
I have a hard time rating this from Y2K Danielle, mainly because she don't remember. She watched it, but if you know me, which obviously Jack, but anybody who's been listening to the podcast, and if you know me, you know I don't like creepy crawling things. I don't like bugs. I don't like armadillos. And I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. Do not fucking send any pictures of possums, armadillos, or creepy things because I said I didn't like them in our direct messages. It's not cool. I will block you.
You'll get blocked.
It's not a joke. It's like legitimately making my skin crawl, wanting to itch. I itched all night watching both of these fucking movies. So it's a 2-day on both movies for me because I struggled so hard to get through it. And that is just a personal preference for me. It has nothing to do with how well the actors were. I just could not get my brain and my body to just ease on down. because there were so many triggers in this fucking movie trilogy. Like
Ease on
all
down.
of it.
Ease on down. Ease on down the road.
I'm sorry. I love sci-fi. I really do. I love a conspiracy theory. You know I do. But
This is where you draw the line.
I'm itching just thinking about it.
My rating for Men in Black 2 is a 5-day. Y2K Jackie.
Right.
Tell us about the box office.
Okay. I'm fine. All right. Let's dive into the first movie. So the budget for Men in Black 1 was $90 million, and it made a worldwide box office of $589.3 million.
Woo.
It's a lot of alien cash. It was released July 2nd, 1997. It became the year's third highest grossing film. It received positive reviews with critics praising the script, set pieces, and performances by Jones and Smith. It also received 3 Academy Award nominations: Best Art, Direction, Best Original Score, and Best Makeup, which I'm going to say it highly deserved. This movie does amazing things with its makeup and all the things that they had to do. Okay. And obviously, the film spawned the Men in Black franchise, including 2 sequels, Men in Black 2 and Men in Black 3. A spin-off film, Men in Black International, that came out in 2019, and an animated series that ran from 1997 to 2001. And this movie is the highest grossing action buddy comedy in the US box office history.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. As for Men in Black 2, it came a kicking. It was really close. The budget was $140 million, obviously, because they upped the budget because they knew, hey, did well the first time. Didn't quite make the numbers the first movie did. It came in at $441.8 million. so much less. It was released again that 4th of July weekend, July 3rd, 2002, and it earned $18.5 million on its opening day, which made it the 3rd highest Wednesday opening behind Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Jurassic Park 3. It would go on to make about $52+ million during its opening weekend, becoming the highest 4th of July 3-day opening weekend, surpassing its predecessor, Men in Black. And Men in Black 2 also would go on to hold the record for having the largest 4th of July opening until it was surpassed by Spider-Man 2 in 2004. Damn it, Toby. It also was going up one of your favorite movies, Jackie.
Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, it knocked it because, Lilo came out in that last weekend of June 26th. Was it?
I don't know if it came out that day or if it's just 626 is Lilo and Stitch Day.
You're right. But I believe it came out that summer. In the summertime.
It definitely came out in 2002, sometime around that time frame, June 16th. So it had been in the theaters for a few weeks before this.
And what's really interesting, because now, like, it's our tradition that we do a Will Smith 4th of July movie, it seems.
It's just what has to happen.
Even though it's only 2 seasons. But yes, we are following in that tradition because we did Independence Day.
But we did choose these 2 movies because they are respectively the 25th and the 20th anniversary of Men in Black 1 and 2.
Which works out great. And if you didn't know, Will Smith is the king of 4th of July. He has had back-to-back #1 4th of July weekend hits from the mid-90s all the way into the 2000s. In 96, he had Independence Day. 99, Wild Wild West. Surprisingly, I know we know that movie didn't do great, but it still did numbers for 4th of July weekend. 2002, we had Men in Black 2. And then we had Hancock, but I don't know what year that came out.
It's outside of our...
It's like
2008.
And that's it. That's
what you got?
That's the monies. That's the monies for the movies.
Do you want to talk about some casting before we jump in?
Yeah, they had some really interesting casting, some people in mind for the cast for the first movie, especially. We almost got a different Agent K and a different Agent J. So how would you have felt if Clint Eastwood was Tommy Lee Jones' role?
I don't like it.
Yeah, that's a no for me.
So Tommy Lee Jones plays the straight man, but he does it with a twinkle in his eye, which I don't think Clint Eastwood would have been able to pull off.
Not at all. No, I can't see it. I can't see it at all. And I have a feeling that if we got Clint Eastwood, we might not have gotten Will Smith.
Yeah.
Just a guess.
Agreed.
Just a gut feeling. We had some other people that could have Chris O'Donnell and David Schwimmer. Could you imagine them being Agent J?
I'm going to tell you something. I can't imagine anyone but Will Smith in this role. Like, not even a little bit. Like, it would break my brain. That's how, like, perfect. And I know it's probably because he did a lot of improv and really made this role his.
Right.
But I mean, it was perfect casting. Both K and J, perfect casting.
I think looking back, like as I was rewatching the movie, one of the things that really hit me was, Will Smith has worked really hard on his craft and his acting abilities have improved vastly. So to like look back on this and, it's a little corny at times.
Yeah.
But it actually made me very proud of him, of how hard he's worked to make that leap. But I don't think he did a bad job because, Tommy Lee Jones is no joke. So to keep up with him, and they had really good chemistry. It was almost like a father-son or older brother vibe going on between the two of them. That was nice. You see it more in the second movie because there's like a loneliness to Agent J. Like he just wants K back, it feels.
Yeah. And the casting of Vincent D'Onofrio as Edgar or the cockroach, like within 5 minutes of his character becoming the bug, I was like, why was this man not nominated for an Oscar for this performance?
Oh my God, when he pulled the skin back, I know it's fake.
Like this?
And the way that he was able to contort his face, I
Yes.
don't know how much of that was visual effects and stuff, but
how did he make his voice so wet?
Ew, yeah.
Like it was just everything. He was so perfectly method in his acting in this. It was just he needs an Oscar for it. I don't care if they give it to him now and be like, I'm sorry, we fucked up. Here's your Oscar for playing Edgar in the first Men in Black, because chef's kiss. It was perfect.
He did a really good job. I think the cast was perfect. Even down to Tony Shalhoub, he feels like an alien in real life. Like, I know that sounds awful, but like out of this world. He's an amazing actor, obviously, and he's great. I just felt like he was perfectly cast in that role.
There is one casting misstep, I feel.
Linda
Fiorentino.
Yes.
I think I'm saying. I can't, no, just no. I don't. She feels the same in every single role. Like I sat there, I was like, I'm watching Bethany from Dogma just in a morgue. Like that's it. It was just flat. Like that would have been such a fun role to like immerse yourself in. And her acting felt like she couldn't care less if she was there on set or not.
Yeah, I think if they had gotten somebody more charismatic, it would have been great to have this. I mean, obviously, she was a doctor. She was really smart.
But you can have personality and not be monotone.
No, I just mean that there was a lot of there was a lot that could have been chewed on a little bit more.
Exactly.
She wasn't like as, portrayed as like a sex kitten, I guess. There were some awkward flirting things going on between her and Agent J. And I kind of hate this. This happens a lot, especially with very prominent Black actors, where they have these movies where it seems like the female lead, there's some kind of romance, but they never go fully for it. And it's always because they're afraid of the backlash of the racism and stuff. But to me, it's like, okay, then just don't do it. It's so uncomfortable.
And especially in this movie, there was zero chemistry between them.
None.
Especially when you compare it to him and Rosario Dawson in the second movie, which like immediate chemistry. But because Rosario Dawson like has that spark,
right?
Whereas Linda Fiorentino didn't, and apparently she just won her role in a poker game with Barry Sonnenfeld. So I think Men in Black for me would be almost one of those like perfect comedy movies if her role had been different, because she's in so much of the movie to just sit there and be like, oh, her again.
Yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, they should have just gotten Tia Leone from Bad Boys.
100%.
I mean, if you're gonna play this, I'm a white lady, you're a black guy, we're flirting, but nothing's ever gonna come of it. They already did it in Bad Boys, so why not just bring her back? I guess.
And like, yeah, and her ability to, maybe it's keeping up with Will Smith and keeping up with Tommy Lee Jones is pretty difficult. And maybe you need like a Tia Leone where she's able to keep up with him.
Yeah.
She's proved it before, where this just fell flat. So,
and if you
almost perfect casting.
And if you want a romance, then just cast a black actress. There's a ton that could have just done it if you're afraid, which I think is really, really stupid.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Hollywood, stupid, dumb nonsense. We almost got a different director too. So Quentin Tarantino was originally offered the chance to direct, but he turned it down. And Spielberg, who is the executive producer of both of these, I believe all the films, he was thinking about directing, but he chose to just produce instead. I know that him and Barry kind of like not butted heads, but they had very different directions of the direction of where the first movie was going to go, and they had to work through it. I don't think they had the same issue in the second movie because obviously Barry had proven himself and his insight and thought was spot on. So
yeah,
which is nice. I wonder though, I do wonder how different the movie would have been if Steven Spielberg had directed it.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah. The feel of this is exactly how we need it to feel. I think Barry Sonnenfeld's direction combined with Danny Elfman's score, it had just the right feel. It had just the right amount of quirky sci-fi, kind of paying homage to old sci-fi movies from the 50s.
Yeah.
But then also having that comedic edge to it. It just, everything worked. Except for not Bethany in this movie. I don't even know her name. It's just Bethany.
Is it Laura?
I think it is. No, Laura was.
No, they have Laurel and Laura. So they use the same names in
Fuck,
both movies.
man.
Yeah.
Why?
So Laurel is Linda's name in the first movie, and then it's Laura in the second one. Somebody in love with a Laura and decided to add it. And one of the things that I did love that Barry added to the movie was, because he's a New Yorker, he decided to keep the movie in New York. Originally, they were talking about having it set up all around the country in different places. But he said that New York is like the perfect place for aliens among us to just be among us, and nobody would give it a second thought. And I was like, very true.
And we see that in when Kay is starting to get his memories back and he sees like all of the people out on the street. It's like one has a tail, there's someone peeking out of the manhole cover, and then that tandem bicycling couple that's all in lights, which they were in the first one, and then they make a couple of quick cameos in the second one, and they actually are a real couple that do that in their neighborhood in New York.
I love that. I believe that that's 100% true. And one of the other things that I do appreciate about these movies is the ode to shows like the Twilight Zone a little bit here and there, and just like those shows that you would stay up at night and it's mysteries that, you know, is the Swamp Thing real? I'm like, is it real? You know, I don't know.
Mysteries of the unknown.
Yes. Love it. Love that.
Okay, well, let's start talking about Men in Black. The movie opens up, there's a box truck crossing the border of Mexico and the US.
It feels, it's so topical. I cannot believe that it was 97. We're still going through this stuff. What I do love also is that Tommy Lee Jones gets to brush off of his Espanol.
He does. Skills. You want to give us a little taste?
No. I have learned my lesson. I have heard your reviews, your hot takes of my horrible
I loves
Spanish.
it.
They want more.
They want more.
Kai, I will talk to you sweet nothings on Instagram, but I can't.
So yes, they're pulled over by Border Patrol, everyone out of the car. Men in Black show up. Tommy Lee Jones goes and is like talking to each individual person. They're like corresponding. And then he gets to this guy and Tommy Lee's saying all sorts of bullshit. And the guy's just like, see. So obviously he's like, okay, cuts him open and it's Mikey, the alien. And he's like, Mikey, what I tell you about jumping
probation?
Yes. So he's like, Mikey, we talked about this. And Mikey's just like, oh no, and's like holding the head on a stick. But then one of the Border Patrol officers kind of comes up over the hill, sneaking around.
His fucking business as usual, not wanting to accept that his authority of harassing these people, like he was mad. He was big mad, and he came and looked, and you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
And I love how Mikey's eyeballs are kind of like on tentacles, and then he's just like, burp, and like looks behind him and sees the police officer. And so he turns around, starts running at him. Police officer is frozen, screaming.
What I was confused about was why Mikey went into attack mode just because the guy was just looking. He didn't have his gun. So what was
I think it's
about?
just anyone that knows about aliens is a threat.
I guess so. I was like, does he eat people? Maybe. Was really the way in which he was running at him. And it is to be noted at this point that Agent K has a partner, and he looks like he is ready for retirement home senior citizen life. Like he is barely standing up, and he can't get to his gun at this point, trying to stop Mikey. And at this point, Agent K has to pull out his because his buddies can't do it.
And all of a sudden, Mikey is blue goo.
Ugh. They used so much like
crap.
They used so much glue for this scene. 25-gallon drum of blue goo for the scene when they shot Mikey. That is like 25 gallons. Just picture that. That's a lot of
goo.
Ugh. And I know, so the good thing about when I was rewatching it was the graphics have not aged completely the best. So I didn't feel as grossed out. So I was like, okay, it's fake.
So yeah, they call in the hazmat team. He flashy things all of the rest of the Border Patrol. And the flashy thing is a neuralizer. It wipes their memories. And so...
God, imagine if we had one of those. What? Just...
How do you know we don't?
I meant you and me, Jackie.
Oh, us.
Yes. What would you use it for?
traveling so I don't have to pay to get on airplanes.
The first thing I thought was, if I could go back to some of the bosses I've had over the years, I would slap the fucking shit out of them. And then
Violence always first.
yeah, I would probably do it like 4 or 5 times in a row. And then just flash them a few times, and then I would have that memory that I slapped a bitch, right? Oh, I mean, I'm sure there's way better things. There's so many other things that I could do to use that for. 100%. I would also use it on guys that I slept with that I don't ever want to talk to again. And I would do it on myself so I wouldn't remember that I did that.
That's fair. But leave yourself a note. Like, if this guy ever calls you, just say no.
No, like I'll record what I'm supposed to say after I do it to myself. Like, bitch, you see this man? Run.
So after everything's cleaned up, Kay is sitting with his old ass partner, and the partner's like, I can't hack it anymore. I need you to neuralize me. I'm going into retirement. So Kay is like, okay, and neuralizes him. Now, cut to Agent J, who is still James at this point.
Quick question. Why doesn't the company, it's been around for a few decades now, why doesn't it have a
protocol,
a program to have more agents coming through? I guess it does, but the way that it made it seems, because like we know Agent J ends up replacing Agent K's former partner, but then at the end we find out he's like, I haven't just been training you, you're replacing me. So I'm like, but who replacing the other guy? I just saw that was like an HR problem, but I'm just,
maybe they had, because in the second one they have Kronk as his partner, so maybe they just had Kronk pushing papers until it was his time to like go and be Jay's partner.
Maybe, but why not pull them up then?
Because Kronk's an idiot.
Okay, continue.
So we see James is chasing this guy. They're doing like flippies, jumping over fences. The guy's super fast. He jumps off of a bridge. James decides to do the same, lands in like a double-decker tour bus, says something about Black people falling from the sky,
which was completely ad-libbed.
Yeah.
By Will Smith.
And so it's just a chase scene. But what Jane notices is that the assailant starts to scale the side of the building, and he's like, well, that shit is new. And so he
scaling the Guggenheim, which is insane.
And then Jay breaks into the Guggenheim and is running up the steps or the little spirally staircase inside, gets to the top, and the guy's like, pretty much like, I fucked up, he's gonna kill me. And then he blinkies his eyes, and he like, his eyes blink the wrong way. They blink like vertically instead of horizontally. And Jay's like, well, that shit isn't right. And then the guy jumps off the building and kills himself. So Jay is brought in for questioning, and while he's in there, it's really quick, but you see not Bethany walk in, and she's like, I'm from the morgue, I found some weird shit, come find me, and she leaves. But then soon thereafter, Kay comes in, he's like, thank you so much, I believe you, blah blah blah, and then he neuralizes Jay. So Jay has no memory of bug guy jumping off of the Guggenheim.
I thought he didn't do that until after he took Jay to go look at the guns and stuff. Did he neuralize him in the room? I thought he asked him like what he saw. He pulled out the security cam, and then.
You're right. So I apologize. Not Bethany is neuralized in the station. You see like a flash in the hallway while Kay is talking to Jay.
And when Jackie says Bethany, which she is referencing Linda's name from Dogma, a totally different movie.
That's what I know her of. Who's Bethany? Who the fuck is Bethany?
Yeah.
I say not Bethany because she's not Bethany, but because then we have Linda and Laura, and then we have Laurel and Laura. Like, it's just confusing. So not Bethany. Anyway, so yes, you are correct. Kay is impressed that Jay kept up with this alien,
because this alien is like apparently really fast, and he's also I think he's also impressed in the fact that Jay isn't losing his shit.
Yeah,
that he's pretty composed. He's able to tell what happened, and he does take him down to go see
Jeebs,
which Jay knows him as just like a pawn salesman guy who's a skeeve, essentially a crook. And Kay is like, okay. And he's actually an arms dealer in the alien world, essentially. And Jay thinks he's got the edge over Kay in this situation because he's like, you know, I know my beat, I know the streets. Kay just pops this guy in the fucking head with an alien gun and his head explodes or whatever. And Jay, I think that's the first time Jay blinks, is like, what the fuck is going on?
You just killed this guy, and then all of a sudden here comes like this tiny
like it's
head.
a slowly inflated balloon.
Yeah, and he's like, don't you know how much that stings?
and I'm gonna just call him Monk in this.
One's gonna have their correct names except for Kay and Jay.
No, at first, like I knew it was Tony Shalhoub, but his head just looks so much bigger than the rest of the body. It just didn't even look like his body at the time when I was watching it, and I was just very confused. His ears are very big. They did a really good job. That's
he has that wonky eye.
Yeah. So after that, obviously he fesses up and shows all the guns, and Jay is still trying to figure out what the fudge is going on. And Kay realizes who's there because of the gun that Jay actually points out to say that's what the guy had. So they leave. I don't think they do anything else to Monk. They leave, and
that's when Kay flashy things.
Yeah.
Jay. So, they leave, they go to the diner, right?
They go to the diner. So after he flashes him, they're in the diner, and Kay is telling a weird story as if they had been drinking for a long time.
Yeah.
And you could just see Kay is kind of like comatose, essentially, just like what the Jay, I mean, is. And then Kay gives Jay that card to meet him the next day. Jay doesn't know what the fuck's going on still.
Yep. And so meanwhile, while all of this is going on, we are introduced to Edgar.
And his wife.
Edgar is verbally and probably physically abusive to his wife, Beatrice, played by Siobhan Fallon Hogan. So a spaceship crashes in their front yard, takes out Edgar's beloved truck. The cow is not bothered by any of these events.
No.
And so Edgar storms out, is looking in the hole, is like, what the fuck are you? And then the cockroach alien grabs Edgar, I guess, eats his insides, and then puts on an Edgar suit.
Ugh.
I love when he's just like, sugar water. It's like, he's like, more. And she just keeps like scooping, and then she pours the whole sugar bowl in, and then he just like chugs it. And then when Kay and Jay go to interview her, she's like, he kept asking for sugar water. Like, it's just the best. So, and then also in this scene, she's like, your skin's a little loose, Edgar. You got a loose skin. And so he turns around and like looks, and it's like the suit, Edgar suit doesn't fit well. So he's like, is this better? And pulls his skin back. And it's very reminiscent of Beetlejuice. Yes. So good.
And
give that man an Oscar.
And I was like, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. It is not real. The weird thing is I could see surgery maybe, and I'm fine, but the creepy crawling things and the crunch noises when he was stepping on cockroaches and the giz and I just not good at all, not good.
So I'm assuming it's the next day, and the exterminator shows up because they have cockroaches in their barn. I don't know if it was a scheduled visit, if Beatrice called because she saw,
shows up.
if his spidey sense was tingling and was like, I need to go to this property.
It was weird because you would think he would have gone inside and talked to the owners if you're just going to be spraying someone's barn and house.
Although my bug guy doesn't ring my bell. He text messages me, says he's here, and then he does his thing and leaves.
Yeah, but that's because there's text messaging now.
But if you know they're going to be here and they're just spraying the barn and leaving.
That's true. I mean, it seems like a scheduled visit, but obviously Edgar did not like that, and killing his kind, he was not taken too kind to that, and
that
killed
man
him.
Died a horrible death.
Yeah,
Edgar stuck the spray gun down the man's throat and pulled the trigger and killed him with his own bug spray. Ugh. But now Edgar has a nice little truck to drive around that's had a cockroach on top, I think, at first, but then he had to shove his spaceship in it. So I think the cockroach had to come off.
My question is, why did Beatrice live? Why would Edgar keep her alive?
Yeah, because I mean, he killed pretty freely.
Yeah, he killed any chance that he got, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why he left Beatrice.
Yeah, but Edgar heads out because he's on a mission. There's somewhere he needs to be. And while all this is happening, Kay is putting pieces together, but Jay goes that following morning, or I'm guessing the morning, to the Men in Black headquarters, doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's sitting in one of those egg chairs. When I used to play The Sims, when I thought I was a decorator on The Sims, I would always get the fucking chair, the egg chair with the purple velvet on the
which
inside.
He has proven are not comfortable.
Whatever. I was loving it. It's the fucking Sims. They weren't going to complain.
The physical comedy in this scene is fucking fantastic. So it's Jay and everyone else seems to be decorated military.
Right.
And they have to take this paper test. And they're all just sitting in their little egg chairs and they can't find comfortable positions. And the pencil's busting through the paper and they're trying to do it on the side of the egg. And Jay breaks his pencil and is fumbling for a few seconds and then decides, well, there's a coffee table. I'm just going to pull it up next to me. And the sound this coffee table makes scraping against the floor in this dead ass quiet room is just fucking hilarious. And then he's very kind. He's like, you want to share this? To the guy next to him.
After he clowned him, by the way.
Yeah.
Clowned the guy first before he's like, anyone. Well, he didn't just say it to the guy. He said, anyone want to get in on this?
Yeah.
So, but I think that test was also to see how outside the box their thinking could be. And
which I would have just gone and sat on the floor at the coffee table. I wouldn't have tried to drag it over to that uncomfortable ass chair.
I love that scene. And I also love that he's wearing red, which is a huge contrast to all the green and blues from the military outfits.
Yep. And then the next scene is the shooting scene. And it's all these alien cardboard cutouts popping up everywhere. Everyone is emptying their clips. And Jay's just standing there kind of looking around. And then this little blonde pigtail girl pops up holding books. And he straight through the forehead shoots her. And so Kay comes in and they're like, the little girl? He's like, oh yeah. And then he had stories for all of the aliens. That guy, he was just working out. This guy, he's just got a cold. He has a tissue in his hand. But little Tiffany here, she's an 8-year-old in the ghetto with quantum physics books, shit ain't right.
Not just a little girl, a little white girl with a quantum physics book in the ghetto. He says she's the one that sticks out in this whole scenario. And they don't say anything. And at this point, I believe they dismiss everybody and they're about to go get wiped, and except for Agent J, who clearly fits the bill. He doesn't like authority, but he thinks outside the box. He sees scenarios from a different perspective. And it fits like a glove. Kay was right. So they introduce him and bring him on board to the Men in Black. And then they're able to bring him into the actual headquarters. And he sees a lot of shit. It seems very gray, white, and black in there. A lot of people who are, I guess, the worker bees with white button-up shirts, which is interesting. That I'm always questioning what the hierarchy of the situation is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you get Nick Cannon in the second one for like 2 seconds. And if you look up his role, it's like autopsy technician or something like that.
I think Nick Cannon was just like vying to be in a movie with Will Smith.
Probably.
Because if you look at especially the beginning of his career and just the comparisons to their personalities and stuff, it was a lot of like Will Smith comparisons. So makes sense.
So we see, like Danielle said, a whole shit ton of different aliens, and the creativity for aliens always like fascinates me. And then they have kind of the hidden aliens up on a board in the middle of the room. And so you get a quick glance at some of those. Where's my list?
The list of the
people.
Visible. Al Roker was one.
George Lucas was another. Steven Spielberg.
Sylvester Stallone. Danny DeVito. Isaac Mizrahi was another. Dionne Warwick. The director, Barry Sonnenfeld.
And Tony Robbins, it looks like.
And the director's daughter, Chloe. So love a good cameo.
Yes, love it. So now we get the whole, let's put it on. Let's put what on? The last suit you'll ever wear.
Is he gonna, so I wonder, do they get buried in it?
I don't know, because for Kay, it technically wasn't true. He was a mailman. He had a different fit to wear in the second movie.
But they said suit, not uniform.
That's true. Maybe. So like essentially the stipulation for being a man in black is that all traces of your identity are erased. You can't have outside relationships, no fingerprints, IDs are wiped out, birth certificates trashed, everything's gone. You are just a man in black, essentially no name. And the J's and K's are code, and it's just the alphabet.
I just feel like he didn't take long enough to really think about this. And it makes me think that the backstory of Jay and even Kay, that their lives are very sad, because like you don't have a mama, a brother, a sister, a cousin. Like you're no one. No one knows you.
It seems like Jay is just the job, like.
But yeah, that's fine. But you have no one that you're going to be like, okay, I'm fine with not seeing them. At least when you're a priest and okay, you decide you're not going to have a family and, get married and have kids, fine. But you could still have people you're connected to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have any of it. That seems weird to me. That's a lot. That's why Kay was out here begging aliens and shit.
Yes, it must be very lonely being a man in black.
Yeah.
Which is probably why they cling to each other so much, Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like, we learned from the Catholic Church, it's not a viable plan. It doesn't end well.
Like Danielle, he makes this look good.
Yo, these lines. I I was like, how was I sweating Will Smith like this? These corny ass lines.
Now we see an older gentleman finely dressed with his cat. And he loves his cat, and he happens to own a diamond store. And he's locking up his diamond store because he's going to lunch with a friend. And Edgar shows up, follows the older gentleman to lunch, and we quickly realize that these two men are aliens, and they're talking about getting the galaxy off world because they know the bugs are after them. And then Edgar comes in, folds a man in half, and then what does he do to them?
He puts them under the counter.
Right, but what does he do to the aliens to kill them?
Oh, he uses his like cockroach arms and just up the neck.
That's right.
And the one of the aliens is so freaking tall, and there's the kitty already knows what's up because he's everybody. What I do love is after he kills these people and he's getting the hell out of Dodge, Edgar, there's this one man who's like, I don't think so, or whatever, like standing at the door. I was like, bruh, did you not see that
cockroach hand?
I would have been like, good luck. Do you want a mint?
Hope you found everything you were looking for, sir.
Don't come back.
So, meanwhile, Kay and Jay are sent out on the first assignment, and it's because Reggie is out of his
jurisdiction, essentially. Yeah. He's not supposed to go outside of his parameters.
Manhattan. Yeah. The island of Manhattan. My question for you is, it seems like he's leaving Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So when they pull him over, he is on a road that is heading towards Manhattan.
Oh.
Because you can see the two towers in the distance.
I have no idea confused. Where he was. I honestly wasn't paying attention.
So this is Danielle's favorite scene, in which Kay is talking to Reggie. You didn't note the sarcasm?
I'm just stating facts. That's a lie.
So while Kay is talking to Reggie, Reggie's wife is in labor, using her tentacles, and just squeezing the life out of Jay. He has become her Lamaze partner.
What I'm confused about is, obviously Kay is setting up Jay in this scene, knowing what's coming. Like, he pulls the dad alien, walks him up the road to have a conversation as if it was secretive or something. He's really trying to figure out why
there's a mass exodus.
Yeah.
Like, there's a ton of aliens leaving planet. And he's trying to figure out why.
And why he would jeopardize the fact that his wife is about having a newborn, because the jump to leave Earth would apparently affect the newborn. When we find this out later, when Kay is talking to his boss, and like you said, there's a mass exodus happening, but also whatever it is must be so bad you're willing to risk your wife and your newborn baby. So that was definitely an issue. And then obviously Jay catches the baby squid.
I almost want to turn my back around to the baby squid.
No. See, Jackie, I just made a PSA to the people that are not nice to me, and you, my best friend.
But I'm allowed to give you shit.
I am terrified. I am like one step away from being on Maury Povich from these things.
We need some immersion therapy for you.
I don't want it. I just like keep them away from me. Thank you.
After Kay and Jay talk with Reggie, Kay's kind of starting to put everything together. He stops at a newspaper stand, grabs all the tabloids, because apparently that's the real news.
I always knew it. Always knew it. And my theory, Jackie, that all the animals on this planet are really just different species of aliens. kind of solidified in this movie just a bit with the cockroaches. I'm just saying.
Jay and Kay are then sent out to talk to Beatrice. And that's when she goes into her whole spiel about seemed like he was wearing an Edgar suit. Kept asking for sugar water. And then Kay goes out and looks at the crash site, evaluates the soil, and is like, oh, it's the bugs. Now we're in the morgue with Plain Toast Lady.
With
And
Laura. Laurel.
He's performing the autopsy on the two older gentlemen that were killed by Edgar. And the cat comes in with the body, which I was like, well, that cat's ride or die, and that's sad. And
treats in his pocket.
Yeah. And so she's like performing the autopsy, and she realizes homeboy has no organs. So I don't know what this situation is, but shit ain't right.
Right. And Kay and Jay are pretending to be from like the health department or something.
Yeah.
And she picks up pretty quickly that Jay doesn't know what the hell he's talking about and doesn't even know when organs are missing. So she checks that pretty quickly. And they both discovered
the ear button.
The alien behind Jackie, if you're watching on YouTube, which scares me even more, where it's a little tiny alien just
in a mech. It's like Pacific Rim, but
you mean Power Rangers?
Or Power Rangers.
You mean Power Rangers?
I love this little alien. He is my favorite part of the whole movie, right, because he's so fucking dramatic. And he's like, what's his word?
Orion.
Aura. What's his word? I love it. With his like giant head and big eyes.
What makes me sad is that while he's even taking his last breaths, the lights are on, so you know he's still alive. But the moment he like sinks back into his little chair and he slumps over, the lights go out and you know he's dead.
I know. And Orion loves him so much. I love this little guy. But they're like, Orion's belt. Orion is a constellation. There's no galaxy on Orion's belt. Orion's belt is made up of 3 stars. And don't you think that I don't, every time I see the constellation Orion, think in my head, the galaxy is on Orion's belt? Because I do for the past 25 years.
Haven't thought about it again. And you know what's funny? In my stupid ass mind, I'm watching this movie. I know I've seen it before. Don't remember anything, obviously. And I'm like, it's on the cat. It's on the cat. Like I was figuring some shit out for the first time. Yeah. Aww. That's me. Sherlock Holmes over here.
I love that journey for you.
Thank you. I love that I could even fool my mind into believing.
Meanwhile, Zed is watching the screen of Earth and just seeing the mass alien exodus off of Earth. So he's like, we got to figure this shit out because like something's not right. Everyone's leaving Earth.
Right.
And back at headquarters, while Zed is watching the mass exodus, Kay's leisurely checking on his long lost love because he joined the Men in Black, and she's just gardening and he's just spying on her. I don't like it, Kay. Don't like it one bit. And the keyboard acting in this scene. Hold on. Let me get my keyboard up. Okay,
I'm ready.
Okay. So yes, wwonderful keyboard acting. The flashy thing, Laura, yes, after they figure out or hear the galaxies on Orion's belt, Edgar is back at when the 2 old men died, they dropped like this little silver container. So Edgar's very mad in the truck, thrashing about, trying to open it up, and it's full of diamonds. And so Edgar's pissed because that's not the galaxy.
And I'm like, send those to me.
And then
I want the diamonds.
They also see an Archelian battle cruiser approaching Earth because the Archelians are like, we're not letting that bug get off Earth with the galaxy. We'll destroy the planet first. And so now they got another alien attack looming. And they have to go down to the jewelry store. So they need to weapon up. And Zed's like, give that kid a weapon. And so Kay presents the noisy cricket, the tiniest little gun. And Jay's like, I don't know what the fuck this is. And Kay has like this giant ass gun. And Jay's not happy about it. So they go down to
bigger is not always better when it comes to these damn sci-fi guns.
And now Edgar goes to the jewelry store and is like just smashing shit up, trying to find the galaxy. And then he notices the shrine of Orion the cat on the wall and notices that the galaxy is on Orion's collar. The what is word? Belt. I love that scene so much. And so Edgar knows what he has to do. He has to go back to the morgue where the cat is. Jay and Kay show up at the diamond shop. They're looking around. They're like, obviously someone was looking for something, but I don't think they found it. And then Jay sees the picture of the cat and puts two and two together. He's like, we got to get back to the morgue. And so now we get to Edgar walking into the morgue. We see David Cross as like the front office attendant.
And which I think is hilarious that they didn't think we noticed that David Cross was in this movie. And then they put him again in the second movie as a different character. I was like, hold up, wait a minute.
He must be friends with someone and just be like, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. And so David Cross's character is like, what the fuck you want? Yes, the bell works. And he has a fly swatter because it's a morgue, so there's lots of flies around. And he's swatting flies. And Edgar is not happy about it. And so then he like spit wads him to the ceiling with goo. More goo for Danielle. So now he's in the back of the morgue trying to find the cat. He takes Laurel as a hostage, essentially, as Kay and Jay show up. They're looking all over. They're ringing the bell. No one's showing up. Jay goes into the back to look for Laurel while Kay is standing there trying to figure out what's going on and kind of keeping lookout. And Kay gets stripped on and realizes the bug is here. Meanwhile, Laurel is standing behind a gurney and she's doing the worst flirting / help me saying without saying help me I've ever seen. And Jay is just like not getting what she's putting down.
Yeah, she's literally pointing to the ground and she's very much just saying, I need help. She says, I need your help. I need you to see this. I need you to come look at this. He doesn't even come. He's so enwrapped in thinking that she's trying to hit on him. It's awful. This whole scene I could have gone without. And then obviously Edgar jumps out or whatever, and he snatches Laurel, takes her in the cab. They try to catch him, and this is when they get into Kay's car, and Jay learns about how fast this old biddy can move, and it goes upside down in the tunnel because they're heading out of New York. Oh, no, sorry. They're heading to Queens. My bad. They're heading to Queens.
And they're listening to Elvis.
Jay is not doing so great. And they're heading to Queens where the World's Fair is. And they talked about this earlier, that there are actually these tower things that are actually old alien ships. And that's where Edgar's trying to get to so he can get off. And he's taken Laurel because he needs a snack on the long journey. I
missed one of my other favorite quotes where Edgar's kind of looking for the morgue and he's like, where do you keep your dead? And the guy he grabs goes, I don't have any dead. I'm like, oh, you're so precious. Anyway, yes. So and K and J are trying to figure out where he's going because they know he needs a ship. And those two ships are on the wall of headquarters. So they're like, oh, bingo, that's where he's headed. So they head out there.
Oh, it's actually, isn't it Jay who points it out? Like they can't figure out where Edgar would be trying to go. And it's Jay that puts it together saying,
Yes.
like, aren't these ships? So very smart job, Jay.
Yeah. So the Roach gets into the first ship and starts to take off. You see it flying over Met Stadium. Is that what it's called, or is it called something different?
Shea Stadium.
Shea Stadium?
Yes.
Look, you knew a sports ball thing.
I know a New York thing.
So it's going over Shea Stadium. K and J shoot it down, so it comes crashing right back in front of them. Laurel, prior to Edgar getting on the first ship, she was kicking and punching and scratching. And so she falls into a tree. And the way she is laying in this tree, just casually on the tiniest branch ever, is sus. But then K and J shoot the ship down. It lands right in front of them. It crashes through the World's Fair globe. So lots of destruction of historic artifacts. So Edgar is pissed that they shot down his first ship, but there's a backup ship. He finally takes off his Edgar suit, so now he's just a giant ass cockroach. He eats both of their guns, so now they are weaponless. And Kay says, don't let him onto that second ship. And then he's like, eat me. And he gets very indignant about it. And so Edgar obliges.
You sounded more like Edgar.
Like Kay and my Edgar are interchangeable. And Jay's now like, what the fuck? Kay just got eaten, but he told me to like keep him on the planet. So Jay's doing his best. He's got a fire branch he's waving about, and he's just being tossed around like a rag doll. And eventually he is thrown into the side of a dumpster, and he stands up and he steps on a cockroach on accident the first time. And Edgar's like, turn around, like, what the fuck was that noise? And Jay's like, oh, I'm sorry, was that your auntie? And so he kicks open the side of the dumpster and all these cockroaches start pouring out.
Jesus, why?
And he's just stomping on him.
So the Humane Society was on set to make sure no animals were hurt. Even the roaches got better representation than most human beings on this planet. Just saying. Anywho, they were on site to make sure no animal was hurt. And what Will Smith is actually stepping on like mustard packets to make that nasty squish and yeah. I was like, let it be over. And so during this part, Jay is catching his attention and he is really like squaring up with this guy, Roach, and aggravating him because at this point he kind of gets, because he can hear Kay's gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knows what's about to happen. And so he aggravates him enough so that he's distracted so he doesn't try to go anywhere. And sure enough, Kay busts a cap in that motherfucker's abdomen.
He does. And so Kay and Jay are reunited. Yay, we saved the world. But what did Kay forget, Danielle? Double tap that bitch. Right. Because as they're sitting there.
I mean, I knew that you meant that he was coming back, but I knew you were trying to get me to say something. And I was just like, make sure a bitch is dead. Shoot him twice. Shoot him in the head. I didn't know where we were going with this.
So luckily Laurel was around and she shoots the half of Edgar that comes up and tries to eat K and J.
Does he not chew? It's just a swallow? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Apparently, Tommy Lee Jones has gone on record saying that he didn't mind all the gooey goo bits that were all over him, but he said it made Will Smith very upset. Well, I understand, bruh. I get it. Because even if it's fake, it's real. You know what I'm saying?
So we then find out that Kay wasn't training his partner. He was training his replacement. Please flashy thing me. And then there's a newspaper article from one of the tabloids that says man wakes up from a 35-year coma, and it's Kay.
Oh, and he's just up and walking. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I do love Jay's collarless suit in this end scene here. Very nice, very chic. Shows that he's trying to
elevate,
but also like, I'm in this, but I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
My way. Bum, 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 my way. Bum, bum, bum.
And then we see that Laurel is Jay's new partner Al. There's a throwaway line about how Dennis Rodman is an alien.
Disrespectful.
And then it pans all the way out, and apparently we're all just marbles.
Oh. Then why we gotta have these bugs though?
Hey guys, I'm Darcy, founder of Spirit.
And I'm Kelly, the Chief Technical Officer of Spirit.
Back in 2011, we formed the Supernatural Paranormal Investigations and Research Institute, searching for answers to mysterious things that were happening in our little corner of Canada.
And we haven't stopped searching for those answers ever since. Join us on our podcast, Canadian Spirit, as we dive into all of Canada's most famous and forgotten paranormal mysteries. Examine the evidence and try to figure out what might be behind Canada's ghosts, cryptids, and UFO encounters.
In Canadian Spirit, you'll get a peek behind the curtain and see for yourself what being a paranormal investigator is really like, and learn something about Canadian history, which isn't as boring as it sounds.
Even if it is, we're a pair of chucklefucks, so we'll do our best to make it entertaining.
So come along for the ride and discover for yourself what makes the land of maple and hockey so wonderfully weird.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, wherever you find your podcasts. And remember,
raccoons are aliens, werewolves are perverts, and ghosts are just downright rude sometimes.
Hopping over into MIB2.
So we see the Columbia lady, the lady with the torch. She flashy things us as the credits start.
Did you say Columbia lady?
Yeah.
Oh.
What did you think I meant? Oh, hold on. I have to change my background from Men in Black 2.
I've been having Men in Black 2 the whole time.
I know you have, and I didn't say anything because I know it's a struggle for you.
It is a struggle. I ride the struggle bus. It looks like, I don't like how it's like the two towers behind me. It's very looming. Just saying. But I'm not switching. When we did the camp episode, I was really about that. But these motherfuckers are still in the movie.
They are.
Y'all will be all right. And her playing fucking Twister with these roaches. Oh, Jesus.
Worms. They're worms.
Sorry. The worms. And this is why I can't watch Tremors either. And there was Tremor-like things in this one.
There was 100%. Jeff was a tremor. You were correct. Or not a tremor, a graboid. That's their given name. I really wanted my background to be, when they first walk into the worm apartment and they're both like completely sideways. I wanted that to be my background, but I couldn't find a picture of it.
How did they do that? Looks like the apartment, was it short? It just wasn't understanding what was happening. It had
short ceilings when you walked in, but then like if you went further in, because they had a sunken in family room.
Yeah.
Then like it was tall enough for them to stand.
And what was he warning about the worm in the
Jeff?
The worm that's in the
subway?
The jacuzzi. He was like, oh, and stay away from him. Like, what was it? It was
I don't
weird. It
know.
was like, and the Twister thing was like a weird sexual vibe, but not really. I just didn't understand like
She
what was
enjoyed it. Look
happening.
at her face. She's so happy.
Okay.
So anyway, Men in Black 2, we start, the Columbia lady flashy things us. And then we go into kind of a spoof of the Twilight Zone, the Tales of the Unknown. They tell the story of Serlina looking for the light of Zara, the princess, comes to Earth, asks the Men in Black to hide the light. It's against their code to do that. And so they had to politely decline.
They don't get involved in intergalaxy beefs and bring it onto this Earth.
Yes. And so they capture Serlina long enough for the Zarthinians to get off planet, and then Serlina disappears for.
This movie got too complicated with the names, it felt like.
Yeah, I
There's
had
a
to
lot
write them
of-
down.
There was a lot of names, and I felt like the first one wasn't trying to bog me down with that. So I will not be trying to say these names. Thank you, and you're welcome.
So we see Serlina's ship flying through the galaxies, heading back to Earth. And like, you think it's this huge ass ship, but like when it lands, it's like 18 inches tall. It's like a bottle rocket. That's what it looks like. And then just like this tiny little, it reminds me of Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors, like slithers out. And then there happens to be a discarded magazine. It flips over to a Victoria's Secret model played by Lara Flynn Boyle. And so it morphs into her, lingerie and all. And then immediately a man comes up to her, holds a knife to her throat, is like, hey, pretty lady, and like licks the side of her face. It was gross. So he drags her off into the bushes. There's a lot of rustling. And then she comes out with the most cartoon belly I have ever seen.
There's a few like weird fat phobic side comments that happen in the first movie and in this movie that rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Continue.
So she looks down, sees her stomach, goes back behind the bushes, can only be shitting him out, is what I am assuming. And comes back out. Her stomach's then flat. And then we see Jay and Patrick Warburton. I just call him Kronk. So that's who he's going to be for me. I know people I know him as other things. I think Putty from Seinfeld, but he'll always be Kronk to me.
Yeah, so they're engaging an alien. His part, I guess there's like a flower part of him. And
just coming out of the subway grate.
Right. And Jay's just trying to have a conversation with him
Yep.
about, his behavior.
They've allowed him to live in the subway for a long
Right.
time. Like they've had an agreement with Jeff.
Right. But his partner, Kronk, as Jackie calls him,
Comes in hot.
Comes in real hot, like agitates him, pulls his little flower. And then Jeff comes out all the way and he looks like fucking Tremor.
Graboid.
Whatever.
Graboids make tremors. Not.
Sorry. The fucking beast from the movie Tremors comes out.
You're correct. So now Jeff is pissed. Jay is sitting on top of him, trying to shoot him up with some like tranquilizer. It's not working. He's getting knocked around by signs in the subway system. So really, this movie should start off with Jay being decapitated. It doesn't. And now he's bobbing and weaving.
Yeah. Okay. So the CGI or visual effects in this scene does not hold up anymore. Not to say that I don't give 100% props to the craft because I know how hard it is, but
yeah. And so we see Jeff will eat subway cars. I think like there's an agreement like, hey, Jeff, don't eat subway cars. But now he's pissed. And so he starts eating the subway car. His whole mouth is full of just like teeth all the way down his throat.
it just, I'm just thinking about it.
And Jay gets thrown through the window of the subway car. So he's like, everyone, there's a bug in the electrical system. I need you to go to the front car. And everyone is ignoring him.
It's very New York. Because you get so many people who talk to themselves, clip their toenails in the corner. Like, you see so much shit on the New York transit lines. So if a motherfucker in a suit busted in the middle of the ride through the window, normal Tuesday.
All of a sudden, Jeff's upon them. And now everyone has understood the seriousness of the situation, except for Larry, the train conductor, who's like, no one gives directions on my train except for me. And
okay, Larry. Okay.
And Jay's like, well, there's that shit behind me. And then Larry's like, yes, everyone to the front. And the subway kind of pulls into the station, and it has just like this teeny tiny little piece left where everyone's like crowded together. So Jay flashy things everyone, gets the hazmat team down. And now we're in the diner. Kronk is crying because he knows he's about to get flashy thinged because you take someone to a public place to do it.
Like a breakup.
Yep. So they can't make a scene. And so Kronk gets neuralized. And now we see Rosario Dawson's character, Lara. She works part-time at a pizza parlor for this guy named Ben. She's known all her life. All my life.
I pray for someone like you.
And I thank God that I finally found you. So while Lara is down in the storage room getting the Mountain Dew, Lena shows up and she's like, where is it? I know it never left Earth. I want to know where the light of Zarthon is. And he's like, I'm not telling you. And meanwhile, Lara is like watching. She watching from afar. Ben says, tomorrow night, the light will leave the third planet and return home. And then she sees Serlina like zap Ben on the head. He just deflates like a balloon and splits in half. And she also has her goon played by Johnny Knoxville.
Okay, so for him getting this part, it says that Keanu Reeves and Robert Downey Jr. both auditioned for the role of Scrod/Charlie along with Johnny Knoxville. What? That don't even make sense. That must be bad information because I know I found it, but it just doesn't sit right with me. How?
Yeah. Although Johnny Knoxville, like,
he was huge at the time.
And this character was kind of, I felt like, tailored for him. Like, he fit the character so perfectly.
I think that Robert Downey Jr. could have played it.
Yes. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is not afraid to
be silly and goofy.
Yes. I can't wait till we do Friends and Lovers because he plays an aloof German guy in it, and it's so fucking funny. He plays Hans. Anyway, so yeah, she said she hears something. Serlina hears something in the back, and so she sends Charlie and Scrud. And what Johnny Knoxville's character is, he's an alien, but he has like a second tiny head that like comes out of his back/neck.
Yeah.
And they're like Tweedledee and Tweedledum is probably the best way to describe them. So they go back, but Lara is able to hide underneath the table. And so they look and they're like, oh, the wind just knocked the door open. Don't investigate further. And so they leave. And now we're back at headquarters. Jay's kind of getting reprimanded for neuralizing yet another partner. And so that's why we find out Agent L isn't back. Laurel from the first movie. They intended for her to reprise her role, but then she was dropped from the script. Is all we know about that So this is when we get the quick Nick Cannon cameo. He brings in this very large dead alien that they have to go put in like a storeroom somewhere.
There's a lot of cameos in this one.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite, Michael Jackson.
H&M.
I just love that he played into
his oddness.
And the fact that obviously all the tabloids, there's so many things that say that he's an alien himself. So
yeah.
Or was an alien.
Yeah, so Jay's informed that there was a killing at the pizzeria, and so he goes to investigate. He needs a temporary partner till he gets a new one, and so Frank the dog is like, put me in, coach. I'm ready.
I love that the pug that played this Frank, they had to dye his little fur hair because he got gray from the last movie, like the 3 years in between, because he was getting old and dog years.
His name was Mushu. Mushu the pug. So we see Jay has what he refers to as the new hotness, which is a Mercedes sedan that's decked out, an upgrade from the first movie. So Frank living his best life. He's out on the beat. He is singing, I Will Survive. Jay is not amused. And so they show up at the pizzeria. Obviously, Laura is distressed. She just watched this guy she's known all her life die in front of her, but he's like a rubber suit by a lady with plants for fingers and a two-headed gentleman. Like, she's all sorts of like, what the fuck? And so he's like, oh, I think you need pie. At first, I thought he just meant pizza from her own pizzeria, but no, he takes her to the diner to actually get some pie. And she goes into this spiel about when we were kids, our hearts tell us there's something else out there. Just tell me what's going on.
Right.
Essentially, I'm not going to freak out. I just need to know what the fuck. And so Jay does tell her about Men in Black, and she's just like, okay. So, and then she kind of sympathizes with him. She's like, it must be hard and very lonely to be a Men in Black. And so you start seeing this attraction between the two of them. Jay knows he's supposed to neuralize her, but just can't bring himself to do it. And so he's like, oh, I'll just neuralize her later. And like, he explains the neuralizer to her, and she's like, you got to do what you got to do. And then he decides not to. Then Jay goes and investigates Serlena's ship that's in the park. And after investigating, confirming that Serlena is now on Earth again, Zed, I feel like is the Dumbledore of Men in Black. Because I feel like he knows all this shit, but he's like, you need to go discover for yourself. Go get the one who actually knows. It's Kay working at the post office. And so Jay shows up at the post office
I think that's good though, because I mean, obviously he could just tell him everything he knows, but I think experiencing it, knowing that eventually all this knowledge is going to have to be passed down some way, somehow, because essentially they're the first generation of this. Because they found out this when Kay was younger. So it's not like there's been legacies and legacies of information in books and stuff. It's just this group of men who started. So I think that's kind of cool that he's letting him kind of work through it instead of just telling him. And Jay is hard-headed as fuck. He won't listen. So it's better that he learns by doing. He's a kinetic learner.
It's true. So he's sent to go recover Kay because there is a deneuralizer at headquarters just in case.
Right.
So they're like, go get Kay. We'll bring him in, deneuralize him, and he can help us out with this case because he worked that initial case. And so Jay goes to the post office. Kay's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so then Jay goes into the back room with him and starts beatboxing. Biz Marquis beatboxes back and tells everyone else, okay, this guy is cool. And they start revealing themselves. And so it's like another guy that's just holding a head on a stick. There's a guy that just wears a torso on his head. And then the mail sorter looks like it's a machine, but if you look on the other side, it's just an alien with a ton of arms, like throwing envelopes into.
And I feel like this actor has played an alien. He was also in Sydney White. He always plays kind of off the beat, odd characters. I just wonder how that makes them feel.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree, because he played that character, the mail sorter alien, but he also plays one of the bird aliens you see later on at headquarters. So Kay's not entirely convinced, but Jay's like, I know you stare at the stars and you want to know why. So if you want to find out why, come find me. I'll be in my car. And like Kay almost immediately gets in. And so get back to headquarters. This is when we see Michael Jackson. He's doing some intel for Men in Black. And he's like, can I be an agent now? You can call me Agent M. And they're like, oh, we're still working on that alien affirmative action program, which is bullshit because Frank works at Men in Black and he's an alien.
But Frank has been like a snitch for them. I don't know.
But they were using the alien affirmative action not being passed yet as like an excuse why they can't hire him.
I don't know.
Politics. So they go in, they give Jay, now it's his turn to give Kay the noisy cricket. They give him his old suit. He has this weird photo of him just like pointing at something in his suit pocket. And then they start the deneuralization process. But at that time, Serlina comes into headquarters and kind of like binds everyone up in a Tanglia type situation.
So they have to run out, they have to leave, and then they have to find another way to deneuralize Kay. So they obviously head to their boy Monk, and obviously he has some bootleg version of the and they put Kay in. But
Serlina also frees some prisoners that Men in Black had as like her henchmen. So she sends them after Kay and Jay.
Right. Kay doesn't feel like it works right away. He still doesn't know anything, but Monk yells that, hey, it's going to take a little while because it's not updated software.
Yeah.
But he sells them out. He lets the henchmen know that they're there. So they've got to escape pretty much. And
Jay is like getting his ass kicked. And then all of a sudden, Kay shows up because he has that moment on the street where he starts noticing odd things. And so he runs back in and starts helping Jay out. My favorite alien, second to Tiny Head Alien, is the Balchinian.
Right.
Cracks me up every time.
His balls are in his head.
Nutsack under the chin, Balchinian.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So they successfully defeat all of the goons. Lena now is fighting with Zed. And Zed is doing weird flippy things. I did not care for this part.
Unnecessary. Boring. Just like tomatoes.
Yeah.
I guess Rip Torn wanted more to do and wanted to be in the action in this episode. Like this movie just seemed more campy than the first one, but not campy because of the premise, but campy because of just throwing even more nonsense. I hate the idea that when we get sequels, they just have to be bigger and better. And
yeah,
I feel like it can still be better. Just stick to the plot line, stick to the characters we love, add those little nuggets in there and call it a day. But all the cameos and unnecessary, like it takes you out of the movie. Oh, yeah, that's Nick Cannon. Why? Even though I did like having Michael Jackson because it was funny, it's still just too much.
Because in the first one, they just kind of have them on the wall behind them. So it was kind of almost like an Easter egg. Like you're looking behind them like, oh, Sylvester Stallone's an alien, and like moving on. And where it's not as in your face as the second one is. Yeah,
it's just, it doesn't play well because you have to decide, are you going to the first one had more of it was comedy, but the comedy and the drama of it and the sci-fi of it was mixed a little bit better. Mm-hmm. The second one was just kind of family, over the top, not cool. And I didn't love that part. I don't like that.
I don't like it.
Also, the other thing is the great relationship between these two, the balance was that K is the straight man and J is the comedy.
Mhm.
And all the way up until K gets his memories, J is very much the straight guy, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because K, he has his moments of funniness, but it's not weighing out. And so I feel like that's maybe why they got so heavy with the crap, to try to make these comedic things, because Will couldn't be over the top until Tommy got his memories back.
Yeah.
And even still, he still seems very subdued in comparison to how he was in the first movie.
What movies did he do in between Men in Black and Men in Black 2?
Hitch.
No.
It was Ali, because it was hard for him to fit into his suits in this movie because he had gotten so big. So I'm wondering if just being in that mindset of that character kind of lingered with him. I just think that, these characters kind of take a hold of you just being in that presence. And I think this is his transition in trying to be more into some serious roles.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been that. I don't know. But it was just after he did Ollie. So that was a heaviness to it.
Yeah, because he had done Enemy of the State, which is a straight action movie.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Wild West is a comedy. Legend of Bagger Vance is another. So he was coming off of two different dramas, Legend of Bagger Vance and Ali.
Yeah.
So he probably wasn't in his groove as well. So while Serlina is fighting with Zed, she sees the dead alien kind of moving. So she knows something's down there. She figures out that it's Frank. And so she makes Frank call Jay and say, we need you back at headquarters. Or no,
well, she uses her own voice to do it, but It's also because it's not just that she saw the alien moving, but it's because he called Zed and was just like saying Jay and blah blah blah. So then she knew he was in there. Yeah.
So Jay and Kay go to Lara and they're like, you're not safe at the pizzeria, like shit's going down. And Kay, the picture that's in his pocket matches like a picture that's hanging on the wall, and it's like him pointing. And Jay goes through this whole like, oh, you're pointing to this picture, which is pointing in this picture, who puts pizza boxes like this, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, there's like a key hanging on the wall next to the initial picture where Kay's pointing. And so Kay's like, this is what we need. Let's go. And we need to take her to a safe house. So the safe house is the Worms. And
I just can't believe the Worms can afford an apartment in the city.
I think
like
Men
that.
in Black puts them up.
Which I do love how they explain that it's not a government operation in the first movie, and that most of their money comes from patents on like some of the inventions that they've gotten from the aliens.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool idea. And as a conspiracy theorist, I 100% believe that something like this exists. I liked how they explain also the deja vu, which is very common with the Matrix. And I think our Men in Black here in the United States doing a bad job. Because why we keep on getting all these reports telling us aliens are real? I'm scared that a movie like this was put out so we know in our heads that this is a possibility, so that when they spring these fucking aliens out on us, we won't freak out. But not me. You're gonna have to sedate me. I'm not gonna be fine with this news. I'm not gonna, and I feel really bad. The aliens might be really nice, and I feel like I'm being prejudiced, but they look fucking scary and creepy and ugly to me, and I can't do it. I'm done.
What if it's your future husband, Danielle?
Fuck. What? No.
You can have inner alien species love.
If I don't even want to deal with the dudes on Earth, now you're telling me I'm gonna do.
Maybe they're better on another.
He's gonna have to wear his human skin. I'm not gonna lie. He's gonna have
His
to be in
Edgar
the bot. Not Edgar. I can't. That's roaches, Jackie. No, the one in the head. I could do that one.
Okay.
Selena, no, because she gonna eat me and shit me out in the bushes. Not the worms. There's not. No, I can't. And the tall guy. Just let me be alone. Maybe he's my future husband. What kind of fucking best friend are you? I'm questioning.
I'm trying to find you a husband.
An
that
alien?
takes care of you.
Is it? Are we at the
That
bottom
takes-
of the barrel?
Well, you said human men ain't shit, so I'm thinking outside the box, Danielle.
You offered the alien first before I even got to human men.
Oh, you've told me before.
That is true, but I don't think we're there yet, Jackie. The desperation has not seeped in.
I'm
I'd
gonna
rather
find you a
just be
nice
alone.
alien gentleman.
Just give
to
me a
take care
good
of you.
vibrator and call it a day.
So Laura is at the safe house. Kay's getting on to Jay for not neuralizing her, and Jay's like, well, not yet. She can help us out, blah, blah, blah. And now they go to a train station where the key is from. They open up the train station, and it's like this whole colony of little people. All hail Kay! And they're like cheering and so excited.
They
And
look
he is-
like the little people from Whoville. I'm not gonna lie, a little bit.
Mixed with Ewoks.
Yes, and they are having the time of their lives. in
They
his
are.
locker.
So Kay's like, what did I leave you guys? And they're like, the timepiece, and it's his watch. So he takes it, but they're like, how do we tell time? So Jay has to replace it with his watch. And he's like, anything else? And they're like, the tablet. And it's a video card, which I loved. And so, and then they're like reciting everything on the video card, like free rental every Wednesday. It's so precious. So now they go to the video store and they're like, hey, can you tell me anything about this account? And she's like, yeah, you put a video on hold that you never picked up. And it was the episode of the Unsolved Mysteries from the beginning that we saw. And in the video, we see that there is a charm bracelet. So now that they know what they're looking for, Jay's kind of connecting the dots, calls Laura and is like, hey, do you have a charm bracelet on your wrist? She's like, yeah. And he's like, is it doing anything? Is it glowing? And she's like, yeah, it's never done that before. So they know that she has the light now. Did you notice the video girl? You know who that is, Danielle?
No.
That is Julie the Cat Gaffney.
Oh, you don't say. Hot hands. Makes me love her more.
Yep, that's who she is. And this is where we see David Cross in his second Men in Black saga appearance as the video store manager, owner. It seems like he lives above it with his mama.
The video store, living with his mama, conspiracy, aliens exist theorist, pathetic guy. Also, he's going to murder his mother.
That is
They
alluded to. Yeah. And the video store girl is like, I want to go to Cambodia and get a lobster dinner for $1. So they find out all the information they need from him about that episode. And when they're neuralizing him, they're like, take this girl to Cambodia, pay more than $1 for a lobster dinner, and move out your mama's house. And that's when we see him pick up a shovel and say, Mom. Meanwhile, Selena has enlisted Jara, who is another released prisoner, to fashion her a spaceship to get the light off the planet. And then this is where Selena calls pretending to be Frank. And I think they tell Frank that Laura is at the safe house with the worms. So she sends her henchmen out to go get Laura.
Well, I think they also tell her that she has a light, no?
Yeah.
And then, they steal her. And so then they have to go back to headquarters. Frank was supposed to make sure everything was all the security was down, but clearly he didn't do that because he's been captured. They get down there, they start.
Well, they need weapons first. And
right,
so they go
back to Kay's old house apartment, where now we see it's the director and his family are actually cameoing in the scene, and they, neuralize them as they get all their weapons with the worms because they're down to clown.
Yes, they pull themselves together after being cut in half. And so now we see Laura is in the spaceship and Jay and Kay are in the elevator. They come down, they're all hanging on the ceiling because there's like a bullet robot just shooting up the shit.
I missed my favorite part, which is the security man minding his business, reading the newspaper, and said, "It's about time y'all got here because shit is just a little weird around here." Like, just whatever his line was fucking
he like
hilarious.
pulls the hot dog off of himself and goes back to reading his paper.
It's like, it's about damn time, because that just made me laugh.
So
in a minute,
I'm gonna need a little K&J to pump me up. So now there's a robot cannon in the elevator. It's shooting everything. After it stops, Jay's like, "I'm gonna need you to cover me," because obviously Frank didn't do what we asked him to do. They try to send in the worms, and the worms are like, "Fuck no, we're not going in there. We're gonna stay up here, thanks." So Kay, being a mailman for a number of years, is able to hang upside down by his feetsies and shoot at the bullet robot so that Jay can get out of the elevator.
Yeah.
And then
none of this made sense after a while.
Not only that, but then swing back up backwards and re-hold on to the ceiling. Makes no goddamn sense.
At this point, I think they split up because now Jay is going to fight this other released prisoner to get to his girl, to Lara.
Yeah.
And then Jay is going after Selena.
Serlina.
And he tells Jay, like,
don't come back. Don't come back for me.
So we pretty much know now that Kay is putting his life on the line. Jay is able to defeat Jara and get his girl Laura. She didn't have faith he was going to make it because he was getting his ass whooped.
Yeah. I love how he gets dumped in those like plastic tubey things, and the way he's like inchworming himself out. Fucking hilarious. Jay then shoots Serlina because she has Kay. She's captured Kay now. And Jay ends up shooting Serlina and blowing her to bits. And
then they have to head to where, Kay doesn't really quite say where they're going, but he takes Jay and Laura because he knows some information that Jay just doesn't know at this point. And they go to a location where it's actually Laura's ship.
Yes. But meanwhile, there's a tiny little piece of Serlina remaining as like a little flower bud. And so she regenerates herself and goes after them. They're in the car. They have to hit the red button and it turns the car into like a spaceship-y machine. Kay's trying to drive. It's a PlayStation controller. Serlina is shooting at them. Frank's not helping. The worms aren't helping. And then Kay and Jay finally switch places. And Jay's like, okay, he has a Hail Mary plan to get rid of Serlina once and for all. So he goes down into the subway. So now they're flying in the subway. He's like, where is he? Where is he? And they see Jeff. And at the last moment, they pull up and go out an exhaust vent. And Serlina's like, shit, and flies straight into the open jaws of Jeff.
So Kay reveals to Laura that she is actually the daughter of the original holder of the light, and that there's her planet is waiting for her to come save them with the light. And then they see like this kind of triangle prism ship, and she has to go. And obviously it's very hard for Jay, it's hard for Laura, even though they've known each other for 2 seconds. But hey, I believe in love at first sight. They get inside the spaceship. Well, she finally decides to go, and also the light, the bracelet, has like a detonation time. After a certain time, it's going to blow up if it doesn't get back to its home planet. So it will kill Earth as well. So she really has to bust a move and get the hell out of there. And so she goes, but as she's going, Jeff comes up with Serlina. And so then, of course, Jay gets pulled up by her tentacle things, and he's getting beat up. And Laura's like, oh my God, my boo, what's going to happen to him? And then Kay says the famous line that he said in the first movie, which is, oh, he's fine. He'll be all right. He does this all the time. And Jay is fine. He's able to get out of the clutches, and Serlina is dead. So this is why Kay had to wipe his memory essentially, and all this other stuff. And then Jay asked a very important question, which is, was that bitch your daughter? Because we know Kay's sleeping with aliens.
Yeah, Ken had the same question. So Ken had never seen this movie.
What was
and he was just the whole time like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, it was brand new for him. And then at the end, he was just like, so wait a minute. Is Rosario Dawson, I think he called her Becky from another Kevin Smith movie, Clerks 2.
From Clerks 2.
He's like, so wait, is Becky Kay's daughter? I'm like, it's alluded to. I don't think it's ever confirmed. And he's just like, huh, okay. But after the movie, he was like, that was very enjoyable. I really like that. He said 5-day rental was his review for it.
And then
playing from Lovey's Mac Mini.
And then from there, this is when we see the Statue of Liberty actually demoralize the entire city, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, so Laura gets off planet. They shoot up Serlina. She turns into a million fireworks over the city. And then the Statue of Liberty's torch is a giant ass neuralizer.
Oh, right. Neuralizer, not deneuralizer. Yeah. My bad. And that is that it?
And then they are back at headquarters. Kay is giving Jay a pep talk about losing Laura, and they open a door, and they're but tiny people in a giant ass train station locker
for Monsters Inc.
Yes, exactly. I guess we're in the same universe as Monsters Inc. So yeah, the only thing we missed, I think, was the most ridiculous line of this movie was where Kay's telling Laura that she's special, and he's like, did you ever special K? So he's like, did you ever notice that it rains when you're sad? And she's like, everybody cries when it rains. And he's like, it rains because you cry. Worst line of the movie.
It all was just like, okay.
And then she's in her ship being sent off to her home planet, and it's raining in the spaceship because she's crying because she has to leave Jay. And that is Men in Black, uno, dos.
Glad it's over.
What have we missed, Danielle?
Jack Nicholson insisted on the casting of Laura Flynn Boyle because at the time they were dating, and Sony was very keen on getting Nicholson to be in the Adam Sandler movie Anger Management. So it seems as if there was an exchange of goods and services for that to happen, which is crazy because Halle Berry, Jennifer Lopez, and Yeardley Smith all auditioned for Selena.
And Famke Janssen was originally cast as Serlina, but had to drop out due to a death in her family.
And I feel like she would have brought the heat. This would have been a totally different movie if she was Serlina.
Yeah.
100%.
John Turturro and Bruce Campbell were both offered the part of Edgar. Like I said, no one can replace Vincent D'Onofrio. And I feel like John Turturro and
Monk.
Monk are kind of similar. Like they
Like-
have that raspy voice and
They played brothers on Monk.
oh, did they?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably why I feel that.
Yeah, so that would have kind of thrown us off for sure.
Yeah.
So we can't end without talking about obviously their suits, but for the iconic suits, costume designer Mary E. Voigt made an
Voigt.
effort. Is it Voigt?
I think
Made
so.
an effort to avoid looking too much like the Blues Brothers. So she said she was inspired by Cary Grant's classic gray suit in North by Northwest. The suits are impeccable, obviously.
10 out of 10. The crew had to shoot 15 takes of Edgar drinking the sugar water. And according to Barry Sonnenfeld, by the end of the day, Vincent D'Onofrio was high on sugar. I can only imagine.
So Smith won a Grammy for the movie's theme song for the first movie. It was actually his first time winning a Grammy solo without DJ Jazzy Jeff. Which I thought was cool. And they made 2 versions of the soundtrack for the first movie. One was the soundtrack from Danny Elfman and an album of like all the music he composed. And then the second one was of the Men in Black song with Will Smith.
And Sonnenfeld complained that Jones ruined multiple takes by making laser gun noises with his mouth whenever he had to act out shooting his weapon. Jones was apparently unaware he was doing this.
Pew, 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 pew.
But it made Smith laugh whenever the director caught his co-star making his own sound effects, which was the same for Ewan McGregor making his lightsaber. Boys and their weapons, I tell ya.
Boys and their toys. I do think it's interesting how, this movie is synonymous with the suits, but also the Ray-Bans. But they did not really, the director fought about mentioning Ray-Bans as the brands. It didn't feel natural to him, and Ray-Bans were begging and pleading for them to be in the movie. They were in Will Smith's video as well. So regardless, I think maybe it was mentioned once or alluded to once as Ray-Bans in the movie, but reportedly sales increased 3 to 5-fold, bringing in as much as $5 million.
It is a lyric in the rap.
Yes, it's in the rap, but
but not in the movie.
Not in the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into our ratings, remember you can hit us up at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube with your thoughts of Men in Black. Are you a little scaredy bitch like me who finds the creepy crawlers to drive you a little insane? Are you ride or die like Jackie? Do you love it brand new like Ken? Just tell us. Let us know. All right, Jackie, give us your ratings.
Okay, so my rating for Men in Black 1
Mhm.
is still would buy it. I own it. Men in Black 2, I'm torn between a 5 and a 2-day. I'm going to give it a 2-day. I mean, it just didn't have the je ne
Nostalgia.
sais quoi that the first one did. The heart.
I know Men in Black 2, still 2-day rental, hasn't changed. I struggle with the Men in Black 1. I just know I'm not going to watch it again. It
Because
just,
of the squirm factor.
the squirm factor, and I didn't get anything from it. You know what I will rewatch? Evolution, even though that has a lot of creepy crawlers, but I love that movie.
I love Evolution. I can't wait to do that one.
So I'm sorry. It's a
2-day?
2-day still. Yeah.
For both,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
the heart wants what it wants.
It does. It's usually you that's really giving it a hard time when
Yeah.
that's not
You're
true.
right.
I give it a hard time all the time. But
Well, if you have an opinion, feedback, if you want to suggest a future movie, if you have Blockbuster video stories, Stephanie did text me and she said she really loved our Blockbuster stories from our Pecker episode. And I told her we'll try to remember more, but the brains, they don't remember much.
Tell her to put in a voice message and it might inspire some additional Blockbuster memories. It's pay for play around here, Stephanie. Okay.
So Stephanie, the quick drop number is 909-601 NMLF 909-601-6653. And you could be featured on a future episode.
And stay tuned for next week as we head back to Egypt with our pod pal Sam for The Mummy Returns.
And as always, be kind and rewind.